Hoka, the cafeteria erupted in laughter. Spoons clattered, trays hit the floor, and the smell of spaghetti filled the air. In the middle of the chaos stood Eiko Tanaka, a quiet 16-year-old exchange student from Japan, her uniform dripping with red sauce. A slice of pizza slid slowly from her hair as three boys doubled over in laughter. The whole room was watching, and no one moved to help. But what they didn't know, what no one in that room could imagine, was that this silent girl had spent years mastering judo under her grandfather, a former Olympic coach. And in just a few seconds, that cafeteria was about to witness a lesson no bully would ever forget. The story begins with Eiko arriving at Westbridge High, a big American school filled with loud hallways, flashy lockers, and students who barely noticed the shy girl with the soft accent. She was an exchange student from Kyoto, nervous but hopeful, clutching her books tightly on her first day. Everything felt too fast, too loud. Back home, she was top of her class and captain of the judo club. But here, she felt invisible, just another face in a crowd. At lunch, she sat alone, quietly eating her rice balls, while others chatted over burgers and fries. Across the room, a group of boys, Jake, Connor, and Mason, watched her. They were known troublemakers, the kind who thrived on attention. Jake smirked and whispered, "New girls eating seaweed or something. Gross." The others laughed. By the end of the week, the teasing grew worse. They'd mimic her accent, call her Ninja Girl, and leave fake fortune cookies on her desk that read, "Go back home." She tried to ignore them, her grandfather's voice echoing in her mind. Tor, a true martial artist doesn't fight to win, she stands to protect her peace. But one afternoon, peace shattered. It happened in the cafeteria. Eiko sat at her usual corner, eating quietly. The bullies walked in laughing, holding trays loaded with food. Jake pointed at her and grinned. "Hey, maybe she wants to try American sushi." Before she could react, a meatball flew across the table and splattered on her shirt. Then another. Then a slice of pizza. The laughter grew louder. The room froze when she stood up. Eiko's hands trembled slightly, but not from fear. She closed her eyes for a second, breathed deeply, and remembered her judo training. Maximum efficiency, minimum effort. Use their strength against them. But Jake stepped closer, mocking her. "What you gonna do? Kung fu me." The moment he reached for her shoulder, everything changed. In one swift motion, she turned, gripped his wrist, and, aim, flipped him over her shoulders straight onto the cafeteria table. The wooden surface cracked beneath the impact. The laughter stopped instantly. Trays clattered to the floor. The bullies stood frozen, eyes wide. Eiko didn't say a word. She simply picked up her bag, bowed slightly, and walked out. But inside, her heart raced. She wasn't proud, she was sad. Violence was never her way, but she knew she couldn't let them keep humiliating her. As she walked home under the gray sky, a tear rolled down her cheek. She missed her home, her friends, and her grandfather's calm voice. She didn't want to be seen as the angry foreigner. She wanted to be understood. That night, she sat by her window and whispered to herself, "Toi, I didn't come here to fight, I came here to belong." The next day, everything changed. Rumors spread across the school. The new girl broke the table. She flipped Jake like a movie stunt. But something unexpected happened. A few students, especially a kind girl named Leela, approached her. Leela smiled and said, "That was amazing, but also kind of brave. Are you okay?" For the first time, Eiko smiled back. Leela and a few others invited her to sit with them at lunch. Slowly, she started feeling a small spark of warmth again, like home. But Jake and his crew weren't done. Humiliated and angry, they plotted revenge. And that's where things took a dangerous turn. A week later, whispers spread again. Jake and his friends were planning to teach the karate girl a lesson. Eiko heard about it but didn't tell anyone. She didn't want more trouble, but she could feel it coming. After school, as the sun dipped low behind the gymnasium, Eiko walked toward her locker when she heard footsteps behind her. Jake, Connor, and Mason stepped out smirking. Jake's face was still bruised from the cafeteria. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone," he growled. "Now it's payback." Eiko didn't flinch. "I don't want to fight," she said quietly. "Leave me alone." But they didn't listen. Mason grabbed her arm roughly. Connor laughed, pulling out his phone to record. "Let's see how tough she is now." In a blur, the situation exploded. Eiko sidestepped Mason's grip, twisted his wrist, and sent him sprawling to the ground. She spun just as Jake lunged, grabbed his jacket, and flipped him again, this time onto the grass. Connor froze, phone still in hand, mouth open. You should delete that, she said calmly, before it teaches you something you'll regret. He nodded and ran off. By the time teachers arrived, the boys were bruised and embarrassed. But something had changed. The other students who'd gathered to watch weren't laughing this time. They were cheering. The next morning, Aiko was called to the principal's office. She feared suspension. But to her surprise, Principal Harris wasn't angry. He looked at her for a long moment and said, "You could have seriously hurt them. But you didn't. You defended yourself, and you stopped it." He paused. "I saw the video before it was deleted. You didn't attack, you defended. That takes discipline." Aiko bowed slightly. "I learned that from my grandfather," she said softly. Later that day, Jake approached her in the hallway, hands in his pockets. He looked ashamed. "Hey, about what happened," he muttered. "We were jerks. I'm sorry." Aiko studied his face. He wasn't mocking her. For the first time, he looked sincere. She nodded slowly. "Apology accepted. But remember, real strength isn't about hurting people. It's about protecting them." Jake smiled faintly. "Guess you just taught me that the hard way." From that day on, the cafeteria felt different. Aiko wasn't the weird foreigner anymore. She was respected. Students started greeting her, asking about Japan, even joining her in the gym where she offered to teach basic self-defense. She found a new purpose, turning her pain into strength and her strength into kindness. As the camera fades on the final scene, Aiko is seen teaching Leela and a few others how to fall safely on the mats, smiling softly. Her voice narrates the ending chore. "Sometimes the world will test your peace, but every challenge is a chance to stand tall, to forgive, and to inspire. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to teach strength with kindness." The screen fades to black with the words, "Respect, courage, discipline. Always choose peace." Moral message. The narrator's voice returns. Sure, every one of us has a moment when we're tested by cruelty or fear. But remember, your response defines you, not the situation. Be like Aiko. Stand tall, protect your peace, and show the world that true strength is gentle.